What's up, guys? Welcome back. Yes, we're back on the charts today, and I'm gonna be breaking down the trade that I took in the AM session for New York, trading the NASDAQ. So before I get into anything, I just want to put it out there that it's been a very, very hard week for me, and I've really learned a lot about patience and how to be more patient, to be sitting on your hands, but I'll get into that more in the video. So going into today's session, I was anticipating for price to draw back into the previous weekly low. Everything was bullish. We opened Monday, we manipulated higher, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the whole days we'd been manipulating lower. So going into the session, I knew that we were very discounted on the day, and we had tapped into very higher time frame PD arrays that were discounted. So I was initially looking for price to get back into this previous weekly low. So going into the 4-hour time frame, I also noticed that price had traded back into this daily fair value gap as well as this 4-hour fair value gap, and look at how the bodies just closed. We went on to create market structure shifts and respecting the equilibrium levels of the previous bearish ranges. So that gave me more intel, because one of the things that I'm learning now is to focus more on what price is actually printing rather than what I want to see. So seeing this bearish PD arrays get respected really gave me more intel that price was interested in looking for sell side liquidity to the downside. So that is what I got to. Going into the 4-hour time frame, you can see how these bearish ranges are respected. Notice the body candles, even the one that was created prior to New York Open. Notice the bodies. At this time, we're dealing with this candle, not this candle. So going into the 4-hour, 1-hour time frame, I noticed that we massively closed below this volume imbalance, created this market structure shift. At this point, having the draw on liquidity to the downside being this low, I wanted to see some kind of buy-side liquidity taken before we actually engaged. However, at market open, we did open with price plunging lower into these fair value gaps. You can see into this 4-hour fair value gap, through this daily fair value gap, 4-hour fair value gap as well. And to be honest, whenever I'm bearish, I do want to see buy-side liquidity taken first. So us opening heavily like this made me really think, okay, maybe we've opened lower and we're just gonna generate liquidity that we can take out later on. So eventually price opened, we traded into this time frame internal range liquidity, and we then pushed higher. And to be honest, part of me really did have a buy side liquidity target for the day, because I initially wanted to see price coming into the session, and I remember telling myself at this point that if we do get an entry or we do get an opportunity to go long, because I definitely saw that there was potential for price to short-termly trade into a higher time frame PD array, which isn't a form of buy-side liquidity, before we could actually continue our move lower. So I gave myself that permission that if I see my trade set up for an inversion fair value gap or the first presentation fair value gap, I would take that setup. Unfortunately, price did create the liquidity here, and it traded above the first presentation as I wanted. But the thing with this trade is it didn't really trade back down into the first presentation. I know the price doesn't always trade back to the first presentation, but that is the model that I have learned and sacrificed a lot for to learn. So yes, we did close above. I'm very sure if I traded back into here, if it traded back into the upper quadrant level without necessarily reaching the consequent encouragement, I would have taken long positions from here, and I would have set my take profit to around these levels, because these levels had very clean highs, and you can see how price just smashed that. However, since that happened and I could not take advantage of that, I used that as a way of saying that, okay, we've taken buy side liquidity, now I want to see price trade back below, which it did. And unfortunately, yes, price didn't come back, but I ended up being so emotions. First of all, I ended up having a lot of emotions, and first of all, my trading session ends at 11. I only stretch my trading session to 11:10 if I'm already in a trade. The mistake that I made here was that I saw this liquidity, bunch of this liquidity, and I was like, wow, okay, if we take up this high and we create a market structure shift, which I patiently did actually wait for, I set my entry to this level because it was the discounted fair value gap of that range, and I had my stop loss around here. Actually, my stop loss this time was much bigger, and that was a stop loss that I had. I immediately hit stop loss within a minute, and this is the mistake that I made. I ended up trading and entering a position that was outside my trading plan, outside my trading session, and eventually I got bit by that, and I just fumbled my trading plan. I was just feeling so emotions because this week has been really hard for me, especially as a developing trader, as a learning trader. It's not been hard in the sense that I've taken losses, but when you're wanting to see action in the charts and you're not quite getting that action. So I've been so patient and I'm okay with it. My edges haven't played out and I've been okay with that. So I don't know, yesterday I think I just wanted dopamine from a trade, and I ended up taking this trade even though I know that it was not my trading plan, it was not my trading session. That's the mistake that I made, and I promised myself to lower my risk for today if I do get any entry, and I also told myself that I'm gonna be okay even if I don't take a trade on the day. What matters is that you show up with discipline and you execute your plan as you have practiced, as you have studied it, not being emotional and taking trades just because you want to feel some kind of dopamine hit. And mind you, this is my first trade of the week, so you can imagine I've not been having any action on Wednesday, so you can imagine how I felt. I just wanted to see some dopamine, and in the end I got bit. So that's the mistake that I made. Another mistake that I realized that I made was that I ended this trade with an open stop loss, but I'm really glad that I had the discipline to close it. Seeing price go through my stop loss, I just told myself just close it and call it a day. I closed my charts and that was it. So that was the trade that I took for the day, and you can see eventually price just shot up, kept on shooting above. So just imagine I had held it, hoping for price to get back down, and yeah, it eventually went back down, but you can see it didn't even reach the lows that we generated. So it was a pretty hard day for me. I learned a lot. Usually when I have hard days in my trading, I use them as learning curves. I use them, I go back to my journal and I see what did I do wrong, how can I learn from this, and make sure that I don't repeat that in the next trading days to come, because I know there are going to be more days when I'll not be taking trades, and I'm right now just learning that I have to be okay with not taking trades and walking away flat on the day. You don't always have to make money, you don't always have to lose money, but what matters most is that you show up with discipline and patience. So that was the trade that I took, and I hope you guys liked this analysis. If you guys want to see more videos like this or more, comment in the comment sections, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love.